Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Fan Appreciation Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a dark comedy from 2007. That movie is Death at a Funeral. I'm going to tell you guys, I've really been looking forward to watching this movie. I've wanted to watch it for many, many years. The big reason why is because it's directed by Frank Oz. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, Frank Oz is one of the few people who almost everything the man touches turns to gold. When he acts, he turns in a fantastic showing. When he is doing puppet work, it is awesome. And when he directs movies, he sometimes makes the funniest shit you will ever see. Guys, two of my all-time favorite comedies are directed by Frank Oz, and those are The Little Shop of Horrors musical and What About Bob? I'm wondering if Death at a Funeral is going to match those, and the only way I'm going to find out is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Death at a Funeral. Okay, guys, well, I've just seen something which is going to prove to be incredibly funny in the near future. Somebody has just been slipped fucking drugs and he was told that it was Valium. I see nothing but funny fucking things coming from that. Oh my god. Is his eulogy actually including the history of a town his dad took them to when they were kids? Wow. You know, guys, there really are a lot of ways you can fuck up a eulogy. This one is sort of new. Damn. You know, guys, whenever I happen to run into a recently widowed woman, first thing that I totally want to do is tell them a story about how a friend of mine was stabbed and slowly bled out from a fucking neck wound, you know? That's just, that series, guys, just really common, like, everyday place. God damn. I am absolutely loving the writing in this thing, guys. This is some of the tightest, funniest shit I've heard in a long time. And it keeps getting funnier with every passing scene. Hell yes. Well, guys, we have just had our titular death at a funeral, and this is probably going to make me sound like a horrible human being. That is probably the funniest goddamn death I've ever seen in the history of film. I'm still thinking about it, guys. It's so fucking funny. Oh, God. I am loving this, guys. Okay, so he's not dead, but wow, that honestly is a good way to go out in a funeral. Not really sure if it's something that I personally would want to do, or something I could even pull off, but what the hell, that honestly is certainly a memorable way of going out. Well, guys, that was Death at a Funeral. Let me shut that off. Oh my god. Okay. Well, I think I can say this before I start talking about much else. I guess I should mention first off that, and I don't talk about this much, I absolutely love farcical comedies. I really do love a good farce, which is why Frasier is one of my favorite sitcoms ever, because they did farce to an almost perfect way. This thing kind of tops that. This is the finest farce I have seen in a long time. As soon, guys, as the jokes start, you are not going to stop smiling or laughing. I don't think I've laughed this hard at a movie in a long time. Guys, I'm just going to say this straight up. My sides literally ache. That's how much laughing I was doing. And that's from everything. That honestly is from by the end of the film, 3 people who are all tripping on those goddamn pills, to our, midget, to just, well, and the midget's one of the 3 who is tripping on pills. Just everything which is fucking going on. Just all of the absolute insanity going on during this funeral. You are not going to be able to stop laughing. You're not going to be able to stop smiling. Guys, my face hurts. I've been smiling so goddamn much. Why? Because this movie never, ever lets up. And that's something that you love in comedy, is you want a comedy which is going to keep you laughing. It's going to keep you smiling from start to finish. I should tell you guys that we get our first joke within mere seconds of the film starting, and it kind of sets the tone for everything else which is going to happen in this film. We have a large, sprawling cast. I guess this is going to be me talking about the writing. We have a large, sprawling cast. We have at least 2, 3, 4 different plot lines all going on at once. And just all of them completely go bonkers until we have essentially a plot line pile up right towards the end of the film, where basically everything is just merging into this one gigantic mass of awesome, funny lunacy. And like all good farces, it finally is able to bring itself back down to reality, and it's able to sort of send you off with a slightly more serious note. In this instance, it actually is the eulogy given at the funeral. It is a very moving speech. It is a beautiful speech. And then the film slowly wraps up, and then it punches out with a fantastic joke to end everything. The movie is spectacularly written. This has got to be one of the funniest things I have seen in years. It has some of the sharpest comedy you will ever see, you will ever see or hear, and every joke is perfectly given. Every line is perfectly told. And part of that is because of how tightly the script is written. But of course that also goes into acting, and our entire cast are giving their absolute all to make this movie memorable, funny, and awesome, and every one of them succeeds. Guys, normally, even with good movies, I might find like one actor who might have like phoned it in or kind of sucked. Not here. This entire cast gave absolutely everything they had, and it shows. This movie is almost perfection from start to finish in terms of writing, in terms of acting. In fact, hell, guys, everything else here is done really well. Our sound mix is good. Our soundtrack is good. Best part, guys, when it comes to our soundtrack, well, actually, it's more of a score than a soundtrack, but still, is that it knows when it has to be there. Because there are moments where there is absolutely no, music, and it sets the tone perfectly. A lot of movies don't know how to do that and will just slam you with music for the entirety of the film. This movie knew when silence in terms of score was going to benefit the film, and it works perfectly. Our camera work is great. Our lighting is awesome. Our framing is good. Guys, I am trying to think of a negative that this movie has, and if there's any negative I can think of. And this honestly is just more of like a personal taste for some people. I know some people are not really into farces. Most people are not into exceptionally dark humor, and this movie goes almost pitch black at times with its humor. And if you're not into that kind of stuff, then this movie is probably going to fall completely flat for you. But the very fact that it's a comedy set during a funeral should already kind of warn you of that going in. However, though, if you're really into dark comedy, you're really into farces, if you guys like me have watched stuff like Frasier and you absolutely loved every second of it, this thing here is basically like a 90-minute episode of Frasier in terms of just simply the fact that it's a farce, and that's like the first farce that comes immediately to mind. This movie, though, now as I stated, it does get exceptionally dark with a lot of its humor. But it also does like to delve into a little bit of toilet humor. And I mean very, very little. And I know some people are turned off by toilet humor also. So if you're not into toilet humor, what little of it is in this film, if you're not into dark humor, if you really don't care for, a good farce, then you're probably not going to like this. But for everybody else, definitely watch this movie. And I know that there's an American remake of it. I don't know if that remake is any good. I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably nowhere near as good as this, and if you have the option between this or the remake, just simply out of principle, I'd say go with this. But I'm going to tell you guys that Death at a Funeral is probably one of the funniest movies I have ever seen. I am desperately trying to think of comedies that top it, and like the only one that even comes to mind is What About Bob, which is also directed by Frank Oz. I mentioned that too. I was wondering going in if this was going to be as good as stuff like What About Bob and Little Shop of Horrors, and it comes really close. I mean, it comes dangerously close to topping friggin', to topping, What About Bob. Little Shop of Horrors is also maybe just a little bit better, but this sucker definitely still stands tall amongst most comedies, especially comedies put out in the last, 8 years, 10 years? Well, this came out in 2007, so 8 years. This is probably one of the best comedies you will ever see that has come out in the last 8 years, but that's because most comedies today are lazy as fuck. And most of them are not as clever, are not as sharp, are not as witty, and they don't have the amazing fast pace of something like this. I can most certainly recommend Death at a Funeral. This sucker's going right into my Blu-ray collection, and I don't think it's ever going to be coming out of my collection anytime soon. This movie was amazing. Now, because it is Fan Appreciation Month, sorry, guys. Let me try that one again. I can't believe I stumbled on the title. Because it's Fan Appreciation Month, Death at a Funeral came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in was, I do have this written down, I'm trying to remember. Oh yes, it was Ariel Not a Girl. Ariel Not a Girl, I thank you for this, dude. I really wanted to see this, and it was you who sent it in, and you fucking rock, man. I love you. And you can find Ariel Not a Girl's channel at youtube.com/user/TVB Robotnik Returns. Once more, that is youtube.com/user/TVB Robotnik Returns. Ariel Not a Girl, I thank you once more. My God, I loved this movie. Now, before I started filming, I went to look up, I wanted to see if What About Bob was on Blu-ray, and it's not. But I did notice that I can download it for Amazon Instant. I noticed I can download it for Amazon Instant Video. I'm going to do that because, God damn it, it's been at least a decade since I've seen What About Bob, and I absolutely adored that fucking movie, and I really want to watch some more stuff directed by Frank Oz. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.